Hi, how are you today? The improved package has arrived. We're having it fitted in time for FP1. Have a look at the factory report.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 66 today for the Monaco Grand Prix in Season 4, and the good news just keeps on rolling with Chris. We've got a brand new part fitted to the car. The chassis weight reduction that we purchased 2 races ago is installed onto the car here at Monaco. Probably not the best race for it to, not a crucial race for it to be installed onto, but still, nonetheless, that is going to definitely help the performance of the car, just to have the car lighter through these nimble corners at Monaco, of course. But being Monaco, it's going to be more about us as the driver. Obviously, the driver makes a huge difference around here, and it's all about dialing it in. So we start off the race weekend. You can see changing back the engine components right now. We are kind of starting to use potentially column 2 now, and we're kind of trying to eke out as much as we can on column 1. But as I've said before a few times the last 2 episodes now, I really think at some point we're going to have to maybe start thinking about reliability upgrades, or we're going to have to go for the strategy of just taking the hit, really, honestly, in grid penalty terms. I'm just not too sure how to play it, really, because honestly the Red Bull car is good enough potentially where we could take engine penalty hits where others aren't, and we could still pretty much come off with a good result like we saw at Spain. But obviously Spain was quite unique. We had a really awesome getaway with Bottas. You can't count on that every single time, so we'll have to see, we'll have to judge for ourselves. But we move through swiftly then to qualifying, which really in many aspects is the more important part of this race weekend, of course, because the race is going to be very tough to overtake. Even on the game, it's going to be very tough to overtake. You can see Q1 pretty damn decent, good lap time there in P2, just behind one of the Ferrari cars, so seemed pretty decent. Obviously, being Monaco, it's going to be a one-stop, so like Russia 2 episodes ago, no point using the second set of softest tyres, so just pounding around on the fastest compound available, which is the ultra soft, just like was the case at Russia. It's going to be a bog standard one-stop race for Sunday. You can see Q2 went pretty damn well. Myself and Ricciardo very close indeed, so good to see I'm matching Ricciardo. Good to see Ricciardo continuing to show improvement this season. But the biggest talking point of Q2, as you can see now as we move to the end of the table, is Sebastian Vettel again, just like Australia in this season, knocked out of Q2, down in P15. So that is quite a big point for this season already, because remember, in the championship fight at the moment, yes, there's only been 5 rounds, but if we're being realistic about who we're fighting, it looks like it's the 2 Ferraris, the 2 Mercedes, and our teammate potentially, and Hulkenberg. And so that's one big hitter already dealt a really nasty card, because obviously, as I just said, Monaco is going to be so difficult to overtake. So Vettel is going to have such a hard time around here now on Sunday to get anywhere from P15, and I imagine it would be tough to even get in the points. So that's going to be a positive for us even before we do this Q3 lap time. You can see flying through Sector 1. That was a really committed Sector 1 through Casino. I was just basically dancing the car, sliding it through, especially through here as well. Just as committed as we can. A little bit of oversteer on the exit, but generally okay. Locking up on the right tyre though, so this was the one and only mistake I made on the lap through Raskas then. Wasn't amazing, and then through the final corner across the line this will be, and we'll see what kind of lap time this is. It's P6 only, which I'm really actually very disappointed by. I think I could have gone a lot faster. I think maybe that lockup maybe cost me, maybe even P4, P3. Ricciardo in P4 done a good job. You can see Hulkenberg's done a fabulous job in P2 then to be on the front row of the grid with Kimi Raikkonen, and again, just emphasizing how much of a mistake that was from Vettel then, as his teammates on pole position and he's down in P15. So from P6, if we were to just finish in P6, then that would be amazing for us in terms of the championship compared to Vettel. But of course, with Hulkenberg there in second, Raikkonen on a charge after winning the last Grand Prix in Spain, we need to try and do the best job we can, and it might be a case of trying to make the moves early on in this race, as otherwise it will be very tough to overtake around here, especially because we're fighting the higher up cars. Maybe in seasons gone by, because we're fighting the midfield pack, it was very easy to maybe make overtakes, and it was a very action-packed Grand Prix. But because we're at the top, everyone's pushing flat out. It's basically a sweat session, so it's going to be very difficult. But let's go to the full grid and see how we go anyway.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Kimi Raikkonen starts today from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Bottas, a Red Bull, and Perez, Massa, Magnussen, Palmer, and Esteban Ocon, Sainz, Hulkenberg, Roman Grosjean, and Kvyat, Vettel, Alonso, Pascal Wehrlein, and Marcus Ericsson. Van Dorn and Lance Stroll rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So here we are for the race, and Nico Hülkenberg has been dealt a really big blow there with an engine penalty, so he's not on the front row of the grid. It's Hamilton, and we move up into P5. So we've got two guys in the championship hunt at the moment, Vettel and Hülkenberg now, dealt really bad cards here at Monaco, so we need to make the most of this now on this race start. You can see one stop, but there is some rain predicted for the end of this race, so inters may come into play. We're going to underfuel the car because the fuel efficiency should mean we should be okay to still use rich mix in the race and have enough fuel to get to the end of this thing. So let's get into this then. As we go to 5 red lights for the duel in the Formula 1 calendar, the Monaco Grand Prix is underway now as the lights go out for 39 laps around the Principality, and it is a fantastic start for us down the inside of not only Bottas but also Lewis Hamilton to the inside for turn 1, hit the apex beautifully, and we're up into P3, and that's been a shocking start for both Silver Arrows, and it's been a fantastic start for both us Red Bull guys. Obviously Ricciardo now up into P2 as now they go side by side, the two Mercedes into the casino square, and Hamilton down the inside of Bottas, and I think he may have just got that Hamilton, and he's going to be in P4. So we're P3, Ricciardo there, you can see P2, closely followed by Raikkonen there in P1, then leading this Grand Prix, and you can see in the distance there, up that crest, up that hill, Vettel still very much stuck from P15 then, so it's going to be a very horrible afternoon for him, and also Hülkenberg now, as he got sent down the order with the engine penalty there, as now we move on swiftly all the way to lap 6, so 5 laps later, and only now we're starting to close up to Ricciardo, but you can see the gaps are really dispersed, and on the mini-map, very clearly, myself and Ricciardo pretty much on top of one another on the mini-map there, but you can see there's a huge gap in front and behind to Raikkonen, and then also Hamilton, Hamilton P4, holding up an entire train, I can actually tell you guys, at the moment, so that's really helping us out at this stage, but you can see, lock up into Raskas, and, you know, we're getting close to Ricciardo, but it's that classic Monaco kind of thing where you're all going flat out, and it's just so hard to make a difference, and as I said, because we're fighting the top guys now, we're fighting the Red Bull of our teammate, we're fighting the Ferrari, fighting the Mercedes, it's not like in Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3 even, when we're fighting just the likes of the Force India, Williams, you know, Toro Rossos, Sauber, McLaren, whatever you have it, in the midfield when, you know, moves were possible. You could make a little cheeky dive bomb down the inside. You know, with the top guys, it's so hard to actually make it work because they are braking as late as I am. And you can see now, this is what I meant by a train forming behind Hamilton. You can see pretty much a gaggle of 10 cars, and that's led by Hamilton, and it's brought up by the rear of Sebastian Vettel. He's still down in around P15, this is, and Hülkenberg is right in the mix, right in the middle of this entire train. So both these guys, you can see Hülkenberg's actually only 2 places ahead of Vettel, so both of them really being hampered, and you can see it takes until Hamilton comes in for Bottas to be released. You can see the Force India is right up his shaft, which shouldn't be the case, so that's just how slow Hamilton was going. Now, I'm not too sure why Hamilton was going too slow, what maybe he had some sort of issue, but he's coming early, so maybe that's why he was going so slow. Maybe his tyres gone completely off, but, you know, whatever the case, it allowed myself and Ricciardo to get away so much. But equally, both us Red Bull guys haven't been closing it up on Raikkonen. You can see he's still leading the way very comfortably there, and you can see Ricciardo just behind, then going into the chicane, then followed closely by myself, but you can see Raikkonen all in control and no worries in the world. And as we go through the laps then, Hamilton's out the pit lane now, and he's on his way, but you can see a whole lot of traffic, gets caught up behind the Sauber and the McLaren car, then just nips ahead of the Sauber, then is tucked in behind the McLaren now, which will hit through the swimming pool section. But you can see he's on a set of soft tyres, so very odd strategy. First he's going slow on the first stint, and now he's on a set of softs going probably to the end of this race, but also there is the indication of rain, so why would you go on the soft tyres? So basically Hamilton just forced himself onto a slower set of tyres for this Grand Prix, which is going to be useless for him, so very odd. So now we move on back to our POV onto lap 14 now, so the laps have flown by, and honestly nothing really much has happened unfortunately with us, and we've actually been losing hand over fist to Ricciardo. As you can see, the tyres were very worn, and just like back in Season 3 when I made that very bold undercut strategy work very well last season when my tyres were going off, again at this stage I was losing time, so I may as well come in, and really in hindsight I should have come in maybe 2 laps earlier than I did right now, because we're losing literally a second or more a lap to Ricciardo. That's how bad the tyres were going off, and just how much of a lack of rhythm I was getting into on those set of ultra soft tyres, the warm ones. So now we're onto a set of new super soft tyres, and we'll go till the rain period now, up in P6, and you can see 3 cars ahead of us, Palmer, and then 2 other cars ahead. Can't quite tell, I think that's a Force India and maybe one of the Haas cars, as now we're closing up on Palmer, then through the swimming pool section now, going up to Raskas, and we're going to make a very bold move to the inside, that infamous move into Raskas there. It's not as tight as it has been in the previous seasons, nonetheless it's still that awesome move that I love to do at least once at the Monaco Grand Prix. Great to have that booked off there, and now we close up on Esteban Ocon as one of the other cars came into the pit lane, so that makes our job easier. Now, Sebastian Vettel is out of this Monaco Grand Prix, so he had already been shot with the 15 place start, and now they've kicked him whilst he was down, just like at Abu Dhabi. Then there is no luck for Sebastian Vettel, and the F1 gods have been very, very cruel to the German, and he's out in the Monaco Grand Prix, and that's amazing for us, as now we've got a very, very close situation there. We narrowly miss the Sauber, who's got blue flags. We go to the inside, we go side by side with Esteban Ocon through that usually flat out chicane, and now we go around the outside, do the switchback move to him in swimming pool, and we're up into third place then. So very, very close stuff. That could have been, you never know, that could have been so close to just smashing into the Sauber, and then that's our race over. So count our lucky stars that we did make it through, and now we're back up into our P3 position, and we can see what we can do about chasing off to Ricciardo. But such poor luck for Vettel, and obviously with 0 points now for him, and you got to say at least third place for us today, 15 points. That's going to be a whole 15 points ahead of Vettel now in the championship. So that's amazing for us, very, very lucky for us, and very, very poor luck for Sebastian Vettel. Engine failure again. I say luck though, Ferrari have a knack of this now for about half a season of Season 3, and now the opening 6 rounds. Obviously, yes, a few times this season it's been basically just Vettel's AI being inconsistent, but the mechanical failures and engine failures have still been there for Ferrari. So as a whole, Ferrari, they're really just not on it. They really need to be doing reliability upgrades, because it's getting pretty ridiculous. So now the virtual safety car gets called out on lap 17. I wasn't too sure what it was for, but we slowed down anyway to kind of meet the delta time there. Palmer's still on P4, yet to pit, which is kind of odd. But as the virtual safety car ends then, we actually get notified that Lewis Hamilton now is out of this race, and so that is why the virtual safety car got called out. So Hamilton already was having a tough race, didn't have any pace in stint 1, was on the soft tyres, got held up in the midfield, and now he's just straight out of this Grand Prix. So 2 big hitters, Vettel and Hamilton now with DNS at this Monaco Grand Prix. That's pretty big news, but yeah, that's why the virtual safety car got called out. And so now we'll look at a replay of why exactly and how Hamilton got out. Now, I initially thought when the virtual safety car was called out and we got notified that it was due to a mechanical failure, but it wasn't. Hamilton actually got taken out of this Grand Prix by a Sauber of Pascal Wehrlein, who's literally no-scoped him and T-boned him into turn 1. Look at this. He's just going through turn 1. No, it's all fine. And then a Sauber, oh, hello, out of nowhere on the right-hand side, just it announces itself. Wehrlein out the pit lane nonetheless. Lock up, and then just such an odd and quite comical crash there. And you got to think if that was real life, that would be a slam dunk penalty or even a race ban, really, because that's really bad. Out of the pit lane, you're crashing into someone, just cutting the white line as well, and then just ploughing into them, T-boning them. So we move through the laps then after that replay, and we're back onto the live action now. You can see the rain is coming down, so we're into the last third of the race here. And as we're still keeping ahead of that Force India car, we've got a bit of a train here of the Haas, Force India, Renault, both Renault cars indeed. Now you've got Grosjean locking up into that chicane. You can see the wet weather affecting him, but he parks up very strangely then. He does get going eventually, but there is Bottas then way down the order in this Grand Prix behind Palmer, Hulkenberg, the 2 Force Indias, and the other Haas of, I think it was Magnussen, because I think that was Grosjean that was locking up there, although I assume so, because obviously we know Grosjean and brake failures are a quite iconic couple. But you can see moving on to lap 30 and locking up similarly like Grosjean, but not going completely off circuit there with 9 laps to go. The rain is coming down even harder now, and it's definitely time to come in for the intermediate. So I say box this lap to my engineer, very much struggling at the moment for grip, going a little bit opposite lock through what is normally a flat out corner in 4th and 5th gear, and into the swimming pool section, going really deep, and then on the exit just chipping off a bit of my front wing. So a really poor mistake for me. Should have gone even more cautious, but I was trying to push still, because even in this stage of the race when the track is like this, although you are kind of going cautious, you are still trying as a driver just to push as hard as you can to still not lose time, and just a really unfortunate mistake for us there. And the team decided not to change the front wing. I kept it on the heads-up display. You can set it to auto, so the team decides whether they want to change the front wing. And so my engineers and my team feel like I'm not going to lose too much time keeping this bit of damage, and so in the end we won't lose time or further time in the pit lane then for changing the front wing. But you can see coming out on intermediates and everyone continuing on dry tyres, but I definitely thought it was time for the dry tyres. But this is the case of when sometimes the AI are a little bit too OP on this game in terms of when it's these changeable conditions, they're just so damn good. But clearly at the moment, unlike where back in last season, Austria, or earlier on this season, it's definitely not a case of it's going to be, they're going to be on dry title in this race. It's definitely time for Inters now, and we are on the better tyre. We are on the right tyre at the right time, because now, as we go to the hairpin, Hulkenberg goes so slowly that I go down the inside of him, just nip it down the inside, ride the curb somewhat, and we're up into P5. So very, very easy move there on my former teammate, using the Red Bull downforce to good use, but more so probably just the grip on the Inters there down the hairpin. Obviously, the place where Raikkonen crashed back in 2016, was it, in that place. So, very easy place to make a mistake in the damp conditions, and Hulkenberg just got caught napping there, so easy move for us. And now we close up on Magnussen, who makes a mistake, and I follow him on that mistake, actually. I was kind of too focused on looking right at the back of his gearbox that I kind of followed him through there, but we go round the outside then of that left-hander. Very, very close stuff there around the outside, tiptoeing round, and we make that pass and we're up into P4. And now the next car along will be the man that was behind us anyway, Sergio Perez, who was doing a fabulous job, I might add, in P4 to be there. But we should get this back up into the podium place that we look like to be booking in for this afternoon, because Ricciardo has been nowhere in sight really, and Raikkonen has been dominating this Grand Prix. So I think the 1-2 is safely going to be Raikkonen and Ricciardo. But we go past Perez then, and we're up into P3, and so now it's a case of just going to the end of this race now with what is 7 laps to go, and trying to just keep Perez at bay. He is behind us. Remember, we do have damage to our front wing, so although it's looking okay right now, it's still, there is definitely still understeer that I'm having to work with there, so that's going to be a bit of a struggle to end this race. But now, looking back at the midfield fight, or the top end, the bottom end of the points, finally these guys come in. Apart from Palmer, as you can see, Hulkenberg comes in, so obviously Hulkenberg has preference, so Palmer has to stick it out for an entire another lap on the super soft tyres. But Bottas onto intermediates there, and he's actually going to jump at least one of these cars. It's going to be the Haas out ahead, and it looks like, yeah, Bottas has managed to jump the Force India of Esteban Ocon in the pit lane there. So now it is Kevin Magnussen from Hulkenberg from Bottas to Esteban Ocon then, and then you would imagine Julian Palmer will slot in behind Esteban Ocon at the end of this train. But we move through the laps then, Magnussen catching up on a Sauber car who's being lapped, but these guys, nothing separating them. The Haas, the Renault, Force India, and indeed even the Mercedes that's closing close behind, all very, very equally matched at this point in the Grand Prix. But a bit of a kerfuffle there for Hulkenberg, as there's been a bit of contact there between the Haas and the Sauber. That's sent Hulkenberg to go a little bit slower. Now Bottas closing in quite rapidly, and up the hill around the outside into Casino, bit of contact made, but Bottas is going to make an absolutely fantastic move round the outside to overtake Hulkenberg. That is insane enough in the dry, but to do it on intermediates in these tricky conditions, what a move there for Valtteri Bottas to get up the order and get up into P5. Absolutely fabulous work. And Hulkenberg, though, has suffered from that, because I mentioned up the hill there was a bit of contact there, and I think it was between Bottas and Hulkenberg, and also, Hulkenberg tapped the Sauber, and so there was enough damage for Hulkenberg. Now he's had to come in for an extra pit stop to just change the front wing then, so calamities for one of the Renault guys then, as now Palmer and Ocon are being caught by Kimi Raikkonen, who's lapping them in this Grand Prix. Raikkonen around the outside of Mirabeau, and this is going to be a little bit close, a bit too close for comfort for Palmer, as now there's been more contact made with a Renault, and Raikkonen had squeezed Palmer into the wall, and so Raikkonen was lapping him, and Palmer got out of his way, but I don't know, maybe Raikkonen just has a vendetta against Palmer, maybe did something to him in the paddock or something like that. But Palmer now has to come in for an extra pit stop, so both Renaults have basically been slapped in the face. They're both in such good points paying positions, but now due to these extra pit stops, they're both going to be out of the points by the end of this race. So Kimi Raikkonen wins the Monaco Grand Prix. It's Ricciardo in second place, and I'm going to make it a double Red Bull podium once again in third place then around the Principality. Unfortunately not to catch Ricciardo, but that's still amazing, because remember, Vettel out of this Grand Prix, Hamilton out of this Grand Prix, both Renaults didn't even score points in this Grand Prix as well, so that's absolutely amazing for the championship, for our championship lead. But Raikkonen winning the race, so that's 2 wins now in the last 3 rounds. I think that is then obviously one at Spain, but yeah, another double Red Bull podium though. That's also great for the constructors against Ferrari. Ferrari were leading the way, they've been very consistent, but now 2 double podiums on the trot for us too. Really good stuff. And you've got to say, Ricciardo started the season off slow, but now, looking very good. Danny Rick is coming to his own with this car now, and both of us performing very, very well indeed. We can see now Raikkonen up into second place of this championship, Vettel down to third, Hulkenberg down to fourth, Hamilton stays put in 5th place. Ricciardo now jumps Bottas for 6th place. You can see we've already got a nice little cushion for 1st place in the championship. But it's a long season. I'll say this many, many times probably as the season goes on. It's a long one. 20 rounds. We were only 6 rounds in. So it's not like back in Season 3 when we were looking at 13-point gap, you know, with only 5 races to go. We've got a long way to go. So I'm not going to really... I'm going to do the classic Rosberg or classic F1 driver technique and just say, let's take it race by race. So 3rd place, absolutely awesome. Let's hopefully continue on and improve on that at the next race, which will be Canada, which obviously is already a big favourite of mine in general in F1. Definitely my favourite, one of my favourite circuits in real life, and on this game definitely has been an amazing one for us. Obviously, we've won 2 races now out of 2 in the Renault car at Canada, and so that's 2 out of 3 in a total. So can we make it 3 out of 4 for going to the Canadian Grand Prix and getting wins? We'll have to see. But looking at the points now, we've got a fair few points to spend, and looking at the R&D tree, like I mentioned a few times, the chassis seems to be the way to go. But I did also mention this big drag reduction upgrade, which is a major upgrade, and we saw when it came in for us at the Renault team last season, it made a huge difference, because once we got in slipstreams of cars, our car became a bullet. So basically, that's why I'm going to go for this purchase. It's going to take till the British Grand Prix, unfortunately. Quite a long way to wait for this upgrade. So once again, I think the same place we had it last time, actually. I think it's the exact same pattern as we did in Season 3. We're going to get this major drag reduction upgrade at our home Grand Prix. But once it comes in, the slipstream is going to be so good in this Red Bull car. And we've already got some decent straight line speed with Rich Mix. So looking forward to that. But guys, if you have enjoyed this Monaco Grand Prix, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And then do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.